Ah, it's so good to have you here, man.
Hey, cheers. I'm having a heady topper right now from
I
Vermont.
I was really tempted to go out and get beer, honestly, for this. I'm just doing water. I
All
gotta
right,
I
all
gotta
right.
keep
Well,
myself not having a headache tomorrow.
yeah,
I got
you
two
got a
more
long
days of
day in front
this.
of you.
Mm.
Mm.
But yeah, happy hour with Eno Sarris. I thought that was an appropriate title for this because I'm gonna have a happy hour hanging with you right now. If you
It's
don't
good to
know
see you.
Eno, and I love that you just go by Eno, we actually might have some surprise Eno trivia later, and it's not what you
Mm.
think. Uh, but I'm just so happy that you're here, man. Obviously, if you guys don't know Eno, I don't know what you're doing. The Rates and Barrels podcast that was just mentioned by Noah Thurm. Congratulations for the FSWA award.
Thank you.
That's very redundant, but well deserved, of course.
Thanks.
Previous work at Fangraphs, now at The Athletic. And I just kind of want to take this hour just to get to know you a little bit more. Maybe talk
Mhm.
about obviously some beer for a second, and then of course what is going to happen moving forward. But yeah, what is the prize that you're offering here at PitchCon,
A curated box of beer. It's actually this thing that I did during lockdowns. I missed having beers with people,
Mm-hmm.
and I've done a lot of trading where I trade a box of beer and I get a beer back, and that actually lost a little bit of the appeal over the lockdowns because I just wasn't sharing them with anyone, you know.
Sure.
And I remember looking down and being like, god damn it, it's just a beer. But I did get some joy out of just sending boxes of beer to people that I cared about. So I sent a bunch of boxes of beer out, and it was just like, this is what I'm drinking right now. It wasn't like something I waited in line for. That's not something I was going to do during lockdown. So it was just, this is what I put together out here in California. You're somewhere else. We would have seen each other by now in Arizona
Oh
or
man.
Florida or
Yep.
any of these places. And so here's some beers on me.
Now,
And so that I'd like to bring that concept. So if somebody is interested, I can send you a box of amazing California beer.
so it's funny you say it like that because I think around this time last year, one of my favorite Eno moments happened, which was at Pitcherless. Sorry, not Pitcherless. Oh man, First Pitch. Anything
Uh,
with pitch is just obviously Pitcherless. No, First Pitch Florida. I remember it was one of the events at night, and I just wanted to get like a moment of fresh air, so I left the atrium or the event room, and I was about to go down the stairs, and I looked down, and I saw you with literally like the Santa Claus of beer with a sack over your shoulder with beer, and it was like the greatest thing I could run into. And
I
and
gave
I
you a
remember
beer.
distinctly, you're like, "Oh, I've got beer. You want a beer?" I was like, "Of course I want a beer." It's like, "Oh, what do you like?" I was like, "I like lagers and like amber ales and Oktoberfest kind of things." And you're like, "Ooh," because all you had was IPAs, of course. And I was like, okay, but no, of course you had the perfect beer for me, and it was fantastic, and it just it made for a wonderful night, and like yeah, that's very much of who you are. You just want to give good beer to people, and that's I think like the last time I saw you, so that
Yeah,
was
I
wonderful.
think about that often. Those are the last games I saw. I've been to some games covering them since, but those are the last normal games I saw. Last time I was like inside with a bunch of people
Hmm.
doing that labor draft. It was last time I was truly happy.
Yeah, and you also got to witness me saying to Matthew Boyd that I called myself a Boyd boy. So that was
That was a
wonderful.
top five moment in the clubhouse, I
I just
think.
couldn't resist, and I saw Fast's face and just go, "Oh my god, oh my lord!" But no,
Yeah,
huge
no,
thank you. I mean,
it's
really for that day, like for those that don't know, like Fast and I got credentials to talk to Matthew Boyd. We were talking to you beforehand, and you're like, "Oh yeah, let's go talk to Matthew Boyd," and you took us under your wing. You kind of showed us the ropes of what it's like having credentials and going to the press box and how to approach them with the questions and stuff. And you gave us tips afterwards. It was, it's incredible, and it's very much of what you do to this industry. So
I would
really,
have to
thank you so much for
say,
that.
do not worry too much about that. Like if you are, I know you're telling it, so you're probably not that worried about it. But I wouldn't worry about it. There's something that's very nice about Matt Boyd, and
Oh yeah.
I had my own moment with him. I don't even know if I told you this, but I once hugged him. I I don't know what I was thinking. I've seen him at Driveline. I've interacted with him for a long time. He's such a nice guy.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we're friends. And it wasn't like a real big hug. It was like a kind of like a pound hug, but inappropriate for a writer. And it wasn't even in the clubhouse. It was on the field. So
what?
Yeah. As it was happening, I was like, what am I doing? So, yeah.
Oh, amazing. I mean, well, okay. I remember even like when we were talking to him, you're talking about how nice he was. So he obviously, like, all these players are so used to hearing, or giving answers to journalists and reporters and everything, right? So they have like that tone and that feeling as they do it. And so I think in the podcast, yeah, thank you guys. And then after he said that, he goes, yeah, thank you guys. Like, it turned off, and he was just so happy again. It was something else. But before we go into all, I mean, there's a lot of other things I want to ask about that, but I do want to start at the beginning with you, because obviously we know where you are now and what you do, but how it is with all this stuff is that it doesn't just happen overnight. There's a lot of hard work that you put into this and a lot of knowledge you learned over the years to be as amazing as you are at this now. And I wanted to just start there. So what was the very first article you wrote?
Oh, man.
You got this.
I can tell you the very first article that I wrote that got traction.
Okay.
And it won an FSWA award for best article of the year. And that sort of led to all the opportunities that I got after that. So it was a piece about Kevin Moss and how, Kevin Moss, like how we should have seen Kevin Moss's decline coming. And it was a piece about age at level. Now that seems like a pretty, it's better to be younger at AA than to be 24. You know what I mean? Like, it's something that's super ingrained. But at the time, it was probably like 2001, 2002. And so it was kind of a newer concept to some in the fantasy industry. And I just had some fun with it because there were like these ladies that took their tops off every time Kevin Moss hit a homer. So I like referenced them, and it was like I think I wrote an okay story that was like about how it's my birthday and how I usually give myself sleepers, but this time I'm going to give myself a good talking to for thinking that Matt Laporta would be any good, because obviously Matt Laporta is just like Kevin Moss. Tell the Kevin Moss story, and then end, as I do almost all of my fantasy pieces, with a list of like 3 to 5 players that are relevant to the analysis that I did. So, talked about age at level, and at the end I was like, Matt Laporta is not going to be any good. This guy's going to be good. This guy's going to be bad. I just remember Matt Laporta in particular being like he's the new Kevin Moss. He's not going to make it.
Right.
And
where was that?
Ended up being right.
Where was that article?
Oh, that was at the Fantasy Lounge. So shout out to Kevin and Randy and all the people that were running that show. It was poorly named. I mean, it sounded like a porn site. In fact, there was a porn site called the Fantasy Lounge, and we were Fantasy Lounge Sports.
Oh my God.
I think there's some people who got there just thinking that it was the sports section of their strip club.
That's
it's a kind of almost a compelling idea. Like, maybe someone should try that.
wait, like, to me, the people making that up, it's like, oh, we would call it the Fantasy Lounge, but that's a porn site, so we can't do that. So we'll just name it sports instead of just naming it something else. It just like hanging on the coattails of a porn site.
It was one of those sites back in the day that had that was kind of like forums based.
Right.
And then you had your forums, and then you had the content on the front of the forums. And I did basketball and baseball for them. And once that piece came out, but mostly my method was almost the same as is today, which is just try to stay up on the latest research. I'm not as well equipped quant wise as a lot of the guys, a lot of the people, that are out there that are doing this. And so I try to read the best analysis that's out there. And my general sort of fantasy article is still to this day, here's a piece of analysis. I'm going to try and explain it to you in layman's terms. And then I'm going to give you some applied knowledge and try to finish with like, here are 5 sleepers based on this new research.
Nice.
I just did that with seam shifted wake and did that with spin mirroring. And like, that's generally what I still do to this day is just try to read a lot.
Absolutely. And by the way, we have a panel on, actually a presentation from Barnes Smith of seam shifted wake tomorrow. So definitely, I believe that's right at the start of the day. Definitely tune in for
so
that.
you could be wearing your seam shifted wake and bake shirt.
You could. You could do exactly that. Wonderful. Now, okay, I don't mean to date you or me here. Kevin Moss decline. When was that article?
I think that was probably, I started writing a lot in like 2002, 2003.
Okay.
And
was that for the Fantasy Lounge Sports, or was it somewhere else I actually started writing?
That was Fantasy Lounge Sports. And then I think that, 3, maybe 4. And then I just know that the period between 4 and 8 was 2000, like somewhere there. And then like to like 2007, 2008, I was just, I just took the laptop home and like wrote next to my wife. I can't believe she let me do this. But she would like maybe watch TV and I would just be writing. And I took 2-hour dumps at work where I just printed out all of the chats on Fangraphs and BP and all the articles I wanted to read, and had just like a ream of paper and just like went in and was like, and my boss later was like, when I told him I was leaving to do this, he was like, yeah, I mean, I saw the papers in the toilet, Mike. I knew what you were doing. So the reading was at work, and then at home did the writing. And so that I wrote for Fanball, where I had a blog named God Bless Buckner, where I wrote about the Mets. And then I went from there to Amazing Avenue, thanks to Eric Simon. Wrote at Bloomberg Sports, and then tried to make the switch in around, and then I started writing at Fangraphs. So I guess I got the time wrong. I wrote that article in like 2005, 2008. I started writing at Fangraphs. So
nice,
something like that.
Now, speaking of your wife allowing you to do things, I remember distinctly you doing a chat while she was in labor, I believe, or like you're waiting for the baby. You're waiting there. You're like, all right, I guess I have like an hour or two. Let's just do a chat during it, which I was like, this man is amazing. Like,
we knew it was going to be a C-section.
I thought that was fantastic. But right, so along this path, and then of course at Fangraphs, you were the Rotographs manager, I believe. Then you gave the reins to Sport as you became a regular Fangraphs writer, and then from there to the Athletic, correct?
Yeah, it's a little bit cloudy for me, but I think the big moment for me was in 2010 or 9 or 10, like right at the, like, you like jobs always sort of come up in our industry in that, like in the winter, right? And so in 2009 to 2010, I was I was making like maybe like $300 a month.
Oh wow!
Writing, and I was like, okay, let's go.
Sure.
Make the
switch. I mean, it was something like, it was encouraging. Like, hey, this could obviously continue and grow from there.
I did have some family help where like it was like, if I didn't pay rent, and I stopped doing this other job, maybe I could kick it to 500 and like be okay. So I decided to make the leap, even though it was all just sort of freelance here and there and piecemeal and all that stuff.
Right.
And then I thought, okay, I really need some sort of bulk job. And one of the bulk jobs that's available to people, it's a decent job and they hire fairly frequently, is what's called a MLB editorial producer. And you work in what's called the bullpen at MLB AM. And I don't think, like, maybe sometimes you have to be in New York, but I think I was going to do it in San Francisco. And basically you're an editor, but you also understand their CMS, and you edit, but you also like attach a clip, and you like link other pieces, and so it's like a little bit sort of multimedia editing.
Right.
And so I trained for that and was going to take a job, and that was going to be, I was going to edit, I was going to write, and that was going to be my job. And I didn't really enjoy it that much. I edited 3 straight spring pieces about how Yasiel Puig wanted to go 50-50. Yeah.
Never
3.
believe it, guys. Never believe the desires. We all want to go 50-50.
I want to go 50-50. And I was just like, oh God, I don't know if I can read another Yasiel Puig wants to go 50-50 piece.
Right.
And right as I was like sort of debating this, I got the phone call from David Appelman and be like, do you want to go full time at Fangraphs? I'm like, yes.
Oh, that's such a great phone call.
Yeah, and you know, it's problematic. It's actually problematic to me, some of the way I came up, because I came up being paid really poorly by Sports Blog Nation.
Sure.
And I came up taking free gigs. Like the Fantasy Lounge, I didn't get any paid. You know, I got part ownership, but I didn't get any money. Yeah. I also, at Fangraphs, there would be like jobs, like extra stuff to do beyond my writing that may not have had a dollar sign attached to it right away. That was like, can you handle this or this or this? And I don't know. I don't want to tell people to do what I did, because I just said yes.
Right.
I just said, yes, I can handle that. Yes, I'll do that. Yes, I'll do that. And it worked. But it worked because I had a job that allowed me to take 2-hour poops.
Yep.
It worked because at some point I managed to go, without rent, without paying rent. So like I'd rather that people paid for internships and people paid, well for these jobs. But the reality is that sometimes you have to just do as much as you can do.
Yep.
And basically I would say is you have to say yes until you can afford to say no.
So when I'm read your biography, your autobiography, in about, I'd say 5-10 years, it's going to be called 2-Hour Poops by Eno Sarris.
2-Hour Poops. Sure.
No, but looking at that, I mean, you're talking about 15 years in this business, and there are always milestones. There's always moments that really shift what you're doing and your excitement, and that's it's a product of the people that you're involved with. I wanted to just kind of ask, like, who were the main people that stick with you that like really pushed you in and pulled you in the right way, took you under their wing, and really helped you get where you are?
Again, problematic. One of them was Jonah Carey. Whew.
Yeah.
But less problematic were Eric Simon at Sportsblog Nation. Took me, one of the things that was cool about Eric Simon giving me a chance at Amazing Avenue was I'd been a fantasy guy, and he just was like, write about the Mets. It's not fantasy, but I think you can do it. Right. And then Appelman giving me the reins of Rotographs. It may be hard to believe now because Spore is doing such an excellent job. But at the time, Rotographs was not almost anything. It was just a couple of pieces a week almost. And what I tried to do with it was just click a lot of the boxes that other people did. Like we didn't have rankings, and like we didn't have a draft kit, and I was like, we should have these things. And so, that was a fun experience. And so, yeah, Appelman gets much love from me. Aaron Gleeman gave me a shot at Roto World. And so I used to write saves and steals for them there for a long time.
NBC Sports Edge, thank you.
Right, whatever it's called now. I guess we're all getting into betting.
But I mean, that all sounds great. And, I kind of want to go into the other aspect that we hinted at before, is that you've gotten these opportunities to talk to players over the years. And I actually remember 2016 when I met you the first time, you told a story about Josh Jaso, I believe.
John.
I believe at a restaurant. Do you remember that one?
Yeah. John Jaso, I think sort of politically might be the closest player ever to me. I mean, that dude was cool as hell. I mean, you saw the dreads and stuff. He was really into music and sailing and I mean, he was different, man. He was
Mhm.
different. And he also gave me one of my earliest scoops, which was that when he had like a concussion at one point, and he tried to play through it, and he begged out of a game one time because he didn't see the ball.
Oh, wow.
Like, he caught a ball and he never saw it.
Oh, man.
And he was like, dude, was that like a 98-mile-an-hour fastball? Yo, I need to get out of here. And so that was one of my earlier scoops, I guess. I don't have that many, but and so we met with David Lorla, and I believe Fernando Perez was there. And not to out everybody that was at this thing, but we were just having a couple beers.
Of course, Fernando Perez. He's like always involved in everything. I love that man so much.
And we were having a dinner at Twin Peaks, a fine establishment. And what was funny was that all I remember about the like what we were eating, I kept trying to ask Jaso all this stuff about, like, do you ever talk shit on the people? Like, I'm just getting into the clubhouse. I was like, do you ever talk shit on people at the plate? Like, do you ever say anything to try and get them off their game? He's like, no, man. Like, they might be my teammate next year. And like,
That's a great point.
And he was just like, no, we don't act like that on the field. And instead, he was watching Giordano Ventura, R.I.P. And he could not take his eyes off of Giordano Ventura. He kept saying, easy cheese, man, easy cheese. And like at some points we just like stopped talking and just like watch Giordano Ventura throw 98-mile-an-hour fastballs. So
right.
That was much better than the food or the ambiance. I mean, I don't know if you know what a Twin Peaks is. It's like a low-rent Hooters.
Oh, I've never heard of it, but Twin now I understand completely why it's called Twin Peaks.
It's so bad, so bad.
Oh my God!
But he was a star there. They all knew him.
Yeah, well, that's what you were telling me, was that essentially everyone could not stop paying attention for John Jaso, and I remember, I think you made a comment saying like you wish that they would treat you like that, and then.
Oh, well, so like years later, I was doing, and I love doing these meetups. It's one of the things that's been so painful for me during the lockdowns. Has just been, I love hanging out with people, and I used to do these meetups for Fangraphs, and I would be surrounded by people asking me about fantasy, for the most part. And I remember telling this story with a couple more details let's do those offline. But I was telling this story, and I was like, oh God, I wish I got attention like this. I ended the story being like, I'll never get attention like that. And there was like a silence. And then somebody said, well, except from 35-year-old white men asking you about their fantasy baseball team.
It's very true, And
it was so awkward because that described like everybody in the circle, and they were about to ask me about their thing. And then somebody just moved right by the awkwardness. And it was like, so anyway, should I drop?
Oh my God, that's amazing. That's incredible. So you've interacted with a lot of players now, right? And what would you say is, I mean, I know you won't be able to pick just one, but what would you say is probably the best interview you've had with another player? Maybe one that you didn't actually give like a hug to.
That's an easy answer. I mean, the first one that really got me going as someone in the there's two that really sort of set me going. One was with R.A. Dickey on the sort of mechanics and the reality of the knuckleball. So I went and looked into like whether or not knuckleball pitchers are more homer prone, and talked to him about like ideal revolutions and spin rate before we knew what that was. And about the mechanics of it and how he was throwing the knuckleball 84, which is like the hardest anyone had ever thrown a knuckleball. He said something in an interview where he said, just look me up on my Fangraphs page. I called up PR and was like, hey, I work for Fangraphs. He said Fangraphs. Is that good enough? Like, can I get like a credential? Right. And they were like, yeah, I guess so. They must have asked RA, and he said, sure. So I got in the car and drove down to LA and interviewed him. I drove down just for the interview, and like crashed on a couch and That was one of my first in the clubhouse interviews. And because of that, when like I got into the BBWA, people were like, yeah, I remember him. He like was in the clubhouse and he acted normally. And, you know, that spoke well to my candidacy. So that was one thing. The next one was like Dan Straley, grips. That became like a grips thing. I talked to him about his 13 change-up grips that he went through. And actually it was really cool. Got one of the videographers there to like take like high res video of him just cycling through all the grips. So there was like a video attached to it, and
that's great.
That was fun. But my favorite interview of all time was with Brandon Moss, and Adam Dunn is in the background, just backbiting, sniping, just being ridiculous, just saying just ridiculous crap the whole time. And Brandon Moss is giving me the goods. Like he's talking seriously about like he's a fly ball hitter. He wants to hit fly balls because homers are good, but that leaves a hole at the top of the zone. Pitchers always attack him at the top of the zone, and he's trying to figure out how to lay off of those or to make enough contact to stop that hole that he's developed. And like all of this stuff I could show with Pitch FX, right? I could be like, look at this big blue hole right here. Yeah. He's right. And then like, look at his swing rates that are changing around that hole. And like, so that part was really awesome where he like let me in on what like people were thinking. And then Adam Dunn is behind him just saying the most ridiculous things. So it was just so much fun. Like at some point I was talking to Moss about like, oh, you used to be kind of a singles hitter. And then like, then you switch to power and then like Ruben Amaro said you were no good in like a press conference. Did that bother you? He's like, of course that bothered me, you know, like, you know, and then Adam Dunn in the background goes, who's Ruben Amaro? And Moss is like, the friggin' GM. I mean, they're cussing a lot more, right? And, yeah, of course. And the friggin' GM. And then Adam Dunn's like, the GM doesn't matter. And Brandon Moss says, it does matter if you want to make the major leagues. and then later, like we're talking about like fly balls and like fly balls for homers. And then Adam Dunn goes, and then somebody said something about like, you know, Adam Dunn just peeks in. We're just talking about fly balls and homers. Adam Dunn goes, you know what I always say, hit home runs and line drives will follow. And he's just like backbiting and just saying all these things. It's just like the audio for that is on Fangraphs still. It's like we posted the audio, and it's amazing because like there's a straight interview that's happening between me and Brandon Moss, and then it's like comedic relief that just keeps coming in. Just Adam Dunn. And then what was funny too is like the next day I had to go in, and I was really kind of nervous because Adam Dunn had cussed a lot, and he said some stuff that was really funny, and I wanted it in the interview. Right. And my editor at Fangraphs would be like, "You gotta go check with Adam Dunn. That's okay." I was like, "Oh man, really?" And Carson Sestouli was like, "Yeah, you got to go in." And so I like went in and I was like, Adam, I know you weren't really in the interview with me and Brandon yesterday, but could I use what you said? And he was like, I don't even know what I said, bro. Sure. And then I was like, well, I don't want to get in trouble. So I was like, dude, you said some stuff about Ruben Amaro. And he's like, yo, man, I'm retiring. Burn this place down. You can put words in my mouth if you want. I was like, it. Oh, so how do you feel about Billy Beane? But it was really funny because then there was also like there was like some back and forth like, oh, is Adam Dunn gonna retire? And I was like, yo, that dude's gonna retire. He is done. Right. But that was definitely my most fun. It was just a straight interview with like the comedic relief. That was amazing.
So so it was comedic relief, but it was also pushback, right? I mean, you've dealt with this a lot. Where, you know, I remember there's of course a fantastic Justin Verlander story that you have, but there's a lot of pushback with, you know, you are the stats guy, you are the new school, I guess, and there's a lot of the old school is just completely pushing that stuff away, and it can be really tough inside the clubhouse, you know, trying to navigate it and figuring out who's receptive to this or not.
Yeah, I mean, I came pretty close to crying one time. I'll be honest. Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas were lighting me up and just saying really terrible things about me during an interview with Billy Butler. I deserved it to some extent. Like I mixed up Eric Hosmer and Mike Moustakas because of Google image search. I will always hate you, Google image search.
Oh no! Oh my god!
They're friends, so they get tagged in each other's pictures and stuff. And like,
right.
I did a Google image search for Eric Hosmer, and a picture of Mike Moustakas popped up for some reason. Or I did a Google search for Mike Moustakas, and a picture of Eric Hosmer popped up. And so I said something to Eric Hosmer about being Greek, and he was like, "Yo, Mike!" He was like, "Yo, Frenchie, this idiot thought I was Moose." And then it was terrible because he got the whole clubhouse involved. Where now Frenchie is laughing at me, like my Trevor and Kura is laughing at me, and these guys are laughing at me. And what's he asking about? Rates? Oh, and what's funny is that like you can't escape your demons, right?
Sure.
You just have to try and conquer them. So what's funny is I'm asking Billy Butler about his ground ball rate, and that sets off Mike Moustakas and Eric Hosmer, and they're like, "Did he say rate? Did he say rate? What kind of questions are these?" And then they go, "Barrels, biatch, barrels. It's all about barrels."
Oh my god!
Years
this sounds
later,
like my absolute
I've got a podcast
hell.
named Rates and Barrels.
Yeah. Wait, are you serious? That's where it comes from? Is this
Sort
interview?
of. Yeah, sort of.
That's amazing. Oh no, but seriously, that makes me so happy that you took this moment that is like, it's like a nightmare, and it shouldn't have been. And
yeah,
you take it and you turn it into this award-winning podcast.
You gotta. So I called Robert Sanchez, who was the editor and one of my editors at the time, and I told him what happened. He's like, "You got to go back in there and you got to go swing your stuff around and you got to show them you don't care." And I was like, "Yo, that's exactly what I don't want to do. I do not want to go back in there. They all hate me." And so I was like, "Okay, well, I need what's his face, Alex Gordon, to finish off this interview." So went back in. Alex Gordon is the nicest dude of all time. He gives me exactly what I need. Where he talks about when he came up. Do you remember Alex Gordon came up and he was supposed to hit a ton of homers and be a third baseman, and he found out he's not going to be a third baseman, and also that Kaufman kills fly balls, and so I decided I needed to be more of a line drive hitter, and so I went back down to the minors and came back up with more of a doubles approach. And that was along with what I cobbled together from Billy Butler and what I got from Eric. I actually quoted Eric Hosmer in the story the next day.
Because it's all about barrels or something like that?
I think I did. I think I said something about it's all about barrels. And I got my story. And I've interviewed Hosmer since, and I've interviewed Moustakas since. I don't think they have any idea who I am. I don't really care. And one thing that like getting to that bottom did for me was like, okay, that was the bottom.
Right.
It was pretty bad there for a second. There was a moment where Billy Butler goes, there's a pause. I had to listen to it again. There's a long pause, and I'm transcribing it. There's a long pause, and then Billy Butler goes, "Are you all right?" And it was very useful. It was like a moment of like, "Oh, thank you. You're a human being. Thank you."
Yeah.
Hosmer, I've gathered, was pretty tough on Billy Butler. Nobody really liked Billy Butler. So
I just feel like everyone else in the clubhouse sucked except Alex Gordon and Billy Butler is what I took away from that.
Well, Billy Butler was kind of like a meddling uncle. And everyone was always like, he would tell Hosmer like what to do defending at first base. And Hosmer's like, "You're the DH, dude." So I don't know. And then Billy Butler also ratted on, oh man, they got into a fight. They punched each other. Danny Valencia.
Really?
He ratted on Danny Valencia to Danny Valencia's shoe company rep. A shoe company rep came in, and Danny Valencia and Billy Butler said he doesn't wear your shoes out on the field. He only wears them. He only keeps them in his locker. And Danny's like, why would you tell him that? So I can't really. I can't really speak that. Yeah, I can't really speak that any of these guys are amazing. That's one thing that, like, I think that's one thing that did there was like, I'm not going to really be friends with these guys. These guys, a lot of them have been like coddled, have been superstars their whole careers, have only won. One of the things that made Alex Gordon such a good interview, and my favorite interviews are people who failed.
Sure.
And once you failed, you get a perspective on what do I have to do to get back in this game? What do I have to do? I'll listen to the nerds. You know, if the nerds, like, I want to get back in this game. So if the nerds have something to say to me, I think Yonder Alonso, one of the reasons he opened up to me and asked me what I thought he should do strategically in baseball was because he was struggling. Yep. You know, and he's like, I may not get another contract. Yo, you're the nerd. Tell me what I should do. And I was like, aim over the second baseman. Don't try to aim at the second baseman. It's like literally all I said.
That's what we can do. That's what we got. Oh man.
Anyway, it was a big moment. That was the low point. So between Brandon, and then Brandon Moss was like was a Royal too. So it's like I've had subsequent interviews with Brandon Moss, who's like one of my favorite people in baseball, where we're just hamming it up next to Eric Hosmer, and having a really good time. And Eric Hosmer's like, "Who's that dude?" And I'm like, "Yeah, who is that dude?"
Oh man, So I mean, I feel like, especially our generation, like, I started doing this in 2014. I'm very, very fresh at this, and we are a little spoiled in the sense of accessibility. Guys are on Twitter and I can just DM them, and hopefully 1 out of 100 whatever will respond. So yeah, cool, I would like to, and then all of a sudden I can record a podcast with them or something like that. In many ways, I can weed out those experiences that you just described, like going into the clubhouse, because they would have never responded to me. I would never have had that reaction in the first place.
Well, I have to say, there's also a transformation going on in baseball that you are lucky to be at the forefront of. Where it's, tech and data, the young guys speak that language. Yes. They understand it. And it's a little bit like now that's what you have to speak to win, Right. Like I just did an interview with Bryce Jarvis, who was like I think like a 14th pick overall or something. And the whole interview is like spin efficiency, spin mirroring, peel the banana, just like all this stuff about grips and what he was doing and Rapsodo and all this stuff. And I was like, yeah, man, the kids, this is the language they speak. So I've been lucky also to be, like the old man of the space. They're like, oh, I remember Andrew Haney, like once, sort of at the end of the interview being like, yo, tell me about spin rate, man. What's spin rate? They're not going to tell me around here.
Oh my
God! Not in Mike Scioscia's clubhouse.
Ridiculous. That idea that like they need to go to us from the outside that has less information to get the things that they need, and not actually the MLB ball club. To me, that whole concept is just mind blowing to me. That actually players have been in that situation.
That'll recede. There's also some distrust between the players and the front office, because the front office cuts them and drops them and trades them. Right. And so there are players who want to own their own data. And so like, they sometimes will seek out outside opinions on the data front, just to be like, I need to make sure I'm getting the best information for myself. But then on top of that, I think more and more they just speak your language and they're willing to speak with you because they might learn something, and they're just used to speaking in this way and talking about these things.
Man, it's so lucky. Yeah, like talking to Clark Schmidt, I had no idea. It was just 45 minutes of all of that. And I was like, this is the best. Oh my God.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Isn't it fun? It's so much fun when you speak the same language. And I had to take some lumps to get there, but and often it's like a little bit more the pitchers. I think the pitchers, they can dictate the action, right? They can spend 4 days, especially starters. They can spend 4 days honing a pitch, or the off season honing a new pitch or whatever. They can be more cerebral, right? There's some part of the hitter interaction that's just like, I can think about things, but when I get in the box, I don't want to think anymore. It's just react, and so there's maybe less to talk about your craft, when you're like, I try to see the ball and hit the ball. I remember Benito Santiago, one of my favorite players. I see the ball, I hit it hard. And you're like, yeah, that's hitting.
All right, so this is happy hour. So a couple quick beer questions for you. What beer would you suggest for someone who does not like beer?
I think the hazies are really great. Just try a New England IPA, a hazy IPA. One of the things that's cool about it is a lot of people say they don't like IPAs because they're bitter. But the nice thing about this new style of beer, the hazy IPA, is it's not bitter. And so what you'll get is something that's kind of, when it's at its best, sort of pillowy. I'm going to say creamy, but not creamy in a gross way. Not like. But there is actually, if you like Orange Julius's, there's a beer called Julius that's kind of modeled after an Orange Julius.
There you go.
So, I mean, that's not bitter, it's all through hops and stuff, but it's pretty cool. So I would say hazy IPAs are a good one. Otherwise, Pilsner is like just the cleanest, most beautiful, crisp, that's I'm German. So like the Pilsner is just that's beer with a capital B, that's like what I think of when I think of just beer, So
yeah, I mean Pilsners, I would say I leaned on a lot. I definitely I'm not a hoppy guy. It's just not for me. So I'm looking for from beer.
So Pinkus, if this is a beer that you can get, and that might transition you to hazy IPAs. I just want to put one actual name out there: Pinkus Organic Pilsner. Pinkus, Pinkus. It's German, however, it's unfiltered and organic, and so it actually is a little bit hazy. And it gets you, it is a Pilsner still, and it tastes like a Pilsner, but it gets you a little bit more of that body that is more like a hazy. So it's just
the hazy.
That was one of my crossover beers.
Gotcha. Okay. So as far as like the bad beers, right? We're talking like you're picking up a 24 pack of some random thing for some party, right? I know this is really kind of almost insulting that I'm asking you about like Coors Light and Bud Light and all that kind of stuff.
It's Coors Light.
What is the best one of that lot?
I mean, I like Coors Banquet.
Okay.
Coors Banquet is probably my real answer, but Coors Banquet is actually not as easy to find. And so Coors Light is my water beer. My Flippy Cup beer. My boat race beer.
Your softball beer.
My softball beer.
There you go. And so what kind of beer would Jose Urquidy be? And they ask also, what will it be flavored with tears by season's end?
I just, it's funny. Urquidy to me is just funny because when I look at his pitch movements, it's a little bit like that. What's that GIF that people use where that's like the numbers?
The Matrix?
No, it's the guy.
The numbers?
Yeah, the numbers are going down, and he's just like looking at the numbers. Yes, I say it that way because the guy who made it said it that way.
No, it's wrong. No, it's a GIF.
No, but the guy who made it says GIF.
Eno.
And dude, my mother called me Eno. If you called me Eno, I would be upset.
But it's not. I'm not going to give you a gift for your birthday.
I don't care. The owner, the guy who made it, gets to decide.
Oh no, this is easily the biggest disagreement you and I will ever have.
Yes, he's right. Asher is right. It's the Hangover one. It's the Hangover one with the numbers.
I don't know that one, but okay.
Anyway,
I believe
I know. I'm on the wrong side of history, I'm sure. But like, far be it for me to mispronounce something, right?
Hey, me too. So,
when I look at Urquidy's pitches, I see perfection. When I look at the numbers on the movements, I'm just like, what? This was made in a lab? Like,
wow.
He's got 10 inches of ride on a 94-mile-an-hour fastball, and then he's got a changeup that has like 7 inches of dive off of that, and 3 inches of fade, and that's his pitch, right?
Oh yeah.
And then he somehow he somehow made, guys who are change up first always have trouble with breaking balls. So like, Luis Castillo, Jake Odorizzi, even he came up with the slider, but now he can't do a slider because he does the split finger. But somehow Urquidy has a really good curveball that he doesn't even use that much, but it's a good one. And then the slider is good too. So it's like, I'm just like, man, it's a 4-pitch guy who has command. Like, I don't know why he didn't strike out guys last year, but he still had a good ERA and stuff. So like, if he fails, I'll just have to question my whole process, which has obviously happened before and will happen again.
No. But no, I think it's a really, really interesting process, and I did want to talk a little bit more about that, and specifically about Command Plus and like kind of what goes into that for those that you see Command, it's like, okay, cool, but there is actually something behind that that might help people understand how your rankings are created. But I mean, I think it's an incredibly useful ranking that you have. And I certainly, I didn't look at them until today because I did my ranks on Tuesday. I don't want to be influenced as much as I can from others. And yeah, seeing Urquidy, I think it was at like 29 or so on yours. Was fascinating, and I kind of wanted you to get the opportunity to talk about Command Plus a little bit and what
there's no other pitcher like beyond just the movement numbers. There's no other pitcher that has as high a command number or a stuff number. And stuff, I worked with Ethan Moore, who now RIP, he's working for the Twins. We'll never hear from him again. But he created the stuff number, and he has like it's not in front of me, but it's like a 115 stuff. And then Command Plus is done by Stats Perform, and they have actual people watching games. They have stringers, and what they do is they use the scouting report for the hitter, the scouting report for the pitcher, the catcher's sign, the catcher's target. You can't just use the catcher's target because obviously catchers do different things. They'll deke people out. They do all sorts of stuff. Some catchers have like a rest relaxation that's not even a target. It's just where they're putting their glove before they stick it, So they use all of those things, and they're like, between all these things, we can say that cutter was supposed to go here, and he missed by 5 inches or whatever. And I think that's useful because guys throw curveballs in the dirt on purpose.
Yep.
Guys throw 0-2 sliders, 4 or 5 inches off the plate on purpose. So you will capture guys that have, like Tyler Mahle. I think Tyler Mahle is really interesting because he didn't have an out pitch, right? But he had high command numbers and he had high walk numbers. And you're like, well, how could he have good command? Well, he's nibbling because he didn't have an out pitch. But now he has
I know. I'm kind of excited too.
The new cutter slider thing. And he ended up in my top 42 because I'm like, dude, he has great command. Now he has great stuff with that new slider. So I'm into it. And so nobody has the same heights of command and stuff as Jose Urquidy.
Wow.
Like I had to put it in my pants because nobody has that high. Like I should put him in the top 20 or something.
Yeah.
But you still look at projections, you still look at ADP, you try to rein it in a little bit.
I mean, the main thing I think that is suppressing Urquidy a bit, just because volume this year, you can't expect him to make a massive jump after, I think it was only 30 innings actually pitched because of COVID last year. Like he actually had it at the beginning of the year.
I'm also not like, he's not like a rookie. He's not like a 19-year-old. I mean, he had like 150 innings the year before. So I think he can get to 150 again.
Oh yeah. 150, certainly.
Yeah. But I also think that like 180 is new 200.
Sure.
So 150 is new 180. And I think that we're all going to be looking for innings. So one thing that was really interesting was that I found myself throwing some high command guys that have roles into my top 75 near the back end where I might not have before, because I think they'll have innings. So guys like JT Brubaker and Alec Mills.
Love Brubaker and Mills. I love this. This is great.
They're high command guys. They're not amazing stuff guys, but Alzolay has an option. The Pirates need Brubaker. So I think that they'll be good streamer innings types. I don't think either of them has the upside where they're going to really baby gloves these guys,
Right.
And so they don't really have like command guys. Actually, Billy Beane said this. Jeff Zimmerman did some research. Command guys have better health outcomes.
Interesting.
So, I put some command guys in there to be like, at the back end of my rotation, I may want just a command guy who's going to give me innings, who I can like put in like 2 games in Pittsburgh. Brubaker might be a high-end bench piece on those weeks.
Right. Yeah. I think Mills actually starts the season going against the Pirates twice in a row, which is like, that's great.
Yeah, that would be great too. Yeah. Oh crap! You've looked at the schedule that closely. Oh. Damn you!
I did a whole article on it. I wrote like
I know.
Way too long on this.
I cribbed off of one of your late season ones, right? Yeah. I cribbed off of one of your late season ones where
I gotta figure out a way to get out of it
exhaustedly at that thing. I was like, well, Nick did the work. I'm gonna do some little secondary work on top of it.
Well, I super appreciate you for like mentioning that. But I mean, the problem with that stuff too is like I do that, and like 5 days later, it's all just different now, and it's
he skipped it. Oh, they're gonna delay him, and then now he's in Colorado. Thanks.
So going back to those lists, though, so that you made that, is there someone you constantly see on it that you feel like is like right there, but just hasn't quite gone there yet?
Pitcher?
Yes, always.
Yeah, right. Pitcher list. Where are we?
There we go.
I mean, like Molly was getting there. Oh, you know who it is for me? Right now might be Griffin Canning.
Oh yeah.
I think I have a story about that one. I got blasted at First Pitch Arizona, and was up to like 3 a.m. with the poker game that goes on after and all this stuff. And then I look on the schedule as I'm falling asleep, and I'm like, "There's an 8 a.m. rollout where we're all supposed to pick a sleeper."
Right.
So, or like 10 a.m. Even 10 a.m. at that point, I was like, "Ah!" I roll out. I'm like bloodshot and like hairs all everywhere. And was it you? I think I talked to a couple people. Was like, "Who are you doing?"
Yeah. We talked to each other. I was thinking between like, Mitch Keller and Griffin Canning. So like, okay, you're like, all right, I got Canning.
Oh, I got Canning. So then they're like, Eno Sarris, and I said, "When I'm like, you're Griffin Canning." I think somebody in the audience goes, "Holy crap, you drank a lot last night." Like,
oh man.
And so Griffin Canning is on his third year of being a sleeper. I'm worried that Dylan Cease will get into that territory. But
so how high do you have Dylan Cease this year?
I didn't. I tanked him because of the bad command numbers, but he's creeping back up again because he's cleaned up his mechanics. And
we don't know. Like, guys can just do that in a heartbeat, but I mean, we hear that that's like the best shape of your life kind of thing too.
Yeah, it's definitely the best shape of life.
But
I think with him, it's just so tantalizing because you're like, dude throws 98. Mm-hmm. He has a wicked curveball. He has a pretty good change. Like, it really could come together fast.
Right.
I don't want to I don't think it'll happen, but
yeah, I mean, so it's actually someone on our Discord mentioned, I really wish I can remember the staffer that said it, but they said, he went to Driveline the next best shape of his life? Yeah. And it's kind of feeling like that. I mean, Alex Cobb, I think, just mentioned that he did it.
I was saying something about Taiwan Walker today, and someone quote tweeted me and was like, "And he went to Driveline."
He was like, "Oh, well, he went to Driveline."
Yeah, there's a couple big name stars that there might be a piece coming out of it. He went to Driveline, and I do kind of try to poke around sometimes, but I think he went to Driveline at this point. There are other places you can go. I'm not saying there are other places that do the same sort of deck and data stuff. So you could have gone somewhere else. It could be just as good. Also, what we were saying is it's pretty much the cost of entry these days.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Doing the Edgertronic, like I don't think maybe Jake Odorizzi went to Driveline, but he did those Edgertronic of all of his grips recently, and it's like he could have done that anywhere, and it's useful and it's good, but it doesn't mean that those breaking balls are any good,
right?
Just because he did an Edgertronic,
of course.
Now they're good.
He's putting work to try and get better. Doesn't mean he's going to be better. Right. Zach Hayes, by the way, mentioned that inside Discord, deserves all the credit for he went to Driveline. Which, yes, does sound like he went to Jared's, which I think is pretty hilarious. But I mean, I will say, last year, I think there were 2 guys on my in my mind that was thinking he went to Driveline, maybe we'll see results. And they were Yusei Kikuchi and Kershaw, who both did see results.
Velocity.
Yeah, well, and also, I mean, the new cutter of Kikuchi.
That's right.
Does make me a little interested for this year, obviously, like the schedule and stuff.
I'm interested in as second iteration. So one thing that I think that I can't prove, which is always a very interesting space, to be in. But I think that the Indians and the Mariners basically draft command guys or acquire command guys and then tell them to throw harder. And so what happens is your command goes down because you're throwing closer to your max. You can't command it as well. However, you have great innate command. So like Shane Bieber, think about Shane Bieber. Dude was throwing 89. He was throwing 88, but he had great command. So then they were like, hey, try throwing 94. And now he throws 94, and his command is not like his command plus number is not amazing. He does give up meatballs, like he does give up, like ask Alex Chamberlain about him in the zone and stuff. So Bieber does not have the most amazing command, but since he had that great body of work before, he had that great command to start with. So what happened with Kikuchi is he had the great command, he threw harder, he lost the command, and so I'm wondering if maybe in this next year he can throw 93 and have a slightly better command.
There's another guy like that actually I remember when I saw you in Florida last year, we were both equally excited about. Maybe you a little bit more so, but that was John Means, we saw that velocity.
And he started throwing hard.
And then the command, he brought down the velocity by the end and had better command by the end, still higher than he was in 2019.
There's some relationship.
Yeah.
But I like seeing Means coming back, throwing the slider, and slider was his first pitch. So Marco Estrada never had a good slider. So if John Means becomes like a lefty Marco Estrada with a good slider and throwing 93 instead of 89, I have to think that he'll be useful.
Oh, I can't wait for John Means. I think that's gonna be amazing. All right,
I had a good moment in interviewing John Means too, where I was like, "Listen, your changeup. When I see it, I think of one person. However, this person was not the most amazing pitcher, and so I don't want to say this and have you be offended." And he was like, basically like, "Okay, on the count of 3, we're gonna say the name." He's like, "I think I know who you're talking about. On the count of 3, we'll say the name." He's like, 1, 2, 3, and we go, "Marco Estrada."
That's so awesome. I love that.
I was like, okay, good. We can be friends. I was like, do we just become best friends?
I mean, that's so great. You have like this pitcher seeing exactly what you're seeing, and that's Ralph.
He said even a coach said something about that, but
that's great. I do want to mention really quickly, Alexander Chase had a funny idea to do Eno trivia. That is Brian Peter George St. John Le Baptiste's Eno, and ask what his most recent album is. We're not going to do that.
Please don't. I like old Eno.
It's the only other Eno. Like
I'm named after him.
Are you really?
Oh yeah.
Well, then that makes a lot more sense.
Okay. But if you think about it, I was born in 1979, so I'm named after good Brian Eno. I have nothing to do with all this. Like ambient music, man. Like it's music to sleep to, if you ask me.
Sure. There we go. And very last question I have for you. Who are you most excited for 2021?
I mean, other than Urquidy
and Means and Molly, yes.
Framber.
I see Julio Urias is at 21.
Yeah, I'm pretty excited for that. I had to bump him down a little bit in the update that's coming up because they have like 25 pitchers.
Yep.
Yeah, Dodgeritis. You know what? It's a duo, and it may be surprising, but Ian Anderson and Mike Soroka, they have decent numbers. Ian Anderson has this like low spin curveball that's been panned forever, but it seems to be working. They supposedly have great command. When I watch them, I think they have great command. Their command plus numbers aren't great, but they were in some small ass samples, and so I'm kind of interested. Actually the whole Braves rotation, because the whole Braves rotation is projected to regress. They're projected to not be as good. And that's why you see projections that say the Braves will be 3rd or 4th in the division or whatever ridiculous stuff.
Wow.
And so, but I also know that Alex Fast not Alex Fast, Mike Fast.
I love that's your first reaction though. Oh my
Love you,
God,
Alex.
that's gonna make his
Uh,
day.
Mike Fast. Mike Fast is one of the first PitchFX public analysis gurus that went to the Astros and then went to the Dodgers. And so I wouldn't be surprised that I'm 100% Mike Fast knows about seam shifted wake. He knows about spin mirroring. He knows he's getting the most. Like Max Fried is a seam shifted wake guy. So like maybe these guys are just going to be projections, and all three of them have reasons to be like, well, Max Fried, bad command in Mike Soroka, where are the strikeouts? And Ian Anderson, low spin, bad curveball. And I would love to see all three shove and sort of uncover why.
I definitely think they can, and I think it also links to your discussion about the Cubs with DVR about how they're focusing a lot more on the command guys' low velocity as well.
Right.
So,
I don't think none of those guys are blowing you away with velocity. There are other rotations with which were way more velocity. The Yankees, it'd be interesting if the Yankees got left behind. The Yankees seem to be developing guys who throw super hard and have a really good breaking ball. And there are other teams making different kinds of bets. So if the Cubs have a good rotation this year,
it might shift things.
It'd be kind of amazing.
Yeah,
they'll average 89 on the fastball.
Yeah, right. Oh man, I could go for much longer with you, but we're past our time.
That's right.
I can't thank you enough for being a part of this. It's good to see you too. We miss you a lot, and I cannot wait to hanging out with you and grabbing a beer soon. As I embarrass myself once again with a player.
I always embarrass myself. It's fine. I was born with a foot in my mouth. I can't wait to see you again in person and get back to normal and get in the clubhouse. I'm debating what to do with Arizona, and I have no idea because I have to shout at someone from 6 feet away in the backfields, and I just don't know if that's going to be the same. I can't hug them.
Right? Yeah, you can't hug them. I don't know if that's positive or not.
Right.
But really, thank you so much for being a part of this, and this was great.
Thank you.